So this is my Kawasaki Vulcan, and the battery was sitting for a couple of months without being used. It's a motor bat. I've got some car plugs here. People said this could touch the chassis, which has got a negative polarity on it. And I'm just going to jump start it with my van here, which I've had to drive to my motorbike's location because I have a hill where I live, so I was able to hill start it. And I thought I'd ridden it far enough, but I really only rode it for about 10 minutes and then parked it, so that wasn't enough obviously to give it some juice. So I'm going to start this thing in the rain. I'll hook that up and then I'll put the phone down obviously and start the engine. Okay, I just plugged it in, hooked it up to the negative and positive terminals. I didn't attach it to the chassis, I just sent it straight to the battery over here. I'll just show you this. There's some sort of acid leaking coming out that negative terminal. It's going to the negative and positive correctly because of the, well, it's red on this side and black on that side. That's clearly labelled. Now I'm going to turn the engine, the battery on. Those lights seem brighter than they were before, but just make sure I'm neutral. Yes, neutral. So let's just hear how it goes. I've only been charging it for like 100 seconds. Let's have a look. Bang, straight away. So there you go, kids. Car cables, there's no problem jump starting your vehicle, your motorbike with installed it. 1 second. Pull the track out a little bit. Okay, so what I'm going to do is leave this running, park that down, hopefully in a place I can keep sight of my motorbike, put the seat cover back on. This is a Vulcan, a Kawasaki Vulcan Classic, or a VN800, 803cc. Cubic centimeters, by the way, is the internal piston hollowness inside in total. Okay, so 803 cubic centimeters are inside that engine. I better keep this the revs up. It is raining on me a bit, so yeah, no, until I get charged up a bit, I might just park the van there and sit in it outside out of the rain a bit. I thought I just might as well show you how the bike seat comes off and on. So first of all, there is a apparently a 10mm screw that holds the bike firmly back in place. I used a general ratchet set. It has every connector's hot size, and the way the bike seat comes off is just by sliding backwards. So basically you see that roll bar there and that little crook over there, they align with the seat like this. Okay, that hooks onto that there, and over there that hooks under there. So if I can do this with one hand, sorry guys, having a phone in your hand makes things a little bit difficult, but I actually just accidentally perfectly did it. So that will just go back in. I'll use the ratchet to tighten that down. Done. Now my bike gets a free clean from the rain, and car didn't explode or anything stupid like people warn you about. So there you go. And so long as I don't stall it, I might actually as I said, to sit here in my van supervising this because I'm in a no standing zone, but at least this is a low traffic area. Yeah, maybe just let it sit there and idle for 20 minutes. So that's that. Fully charged. Well, not fully charged, but jump started. Just going to turn the van off so you can properly hear. Now what can happen if there's not enough, I don't know what the hell it is, but if there's anything kind of not liquidy enough in terms of fluids that flow through the bike, I don't know what the fuck. Anyway, sometimes you can stall it if you rev it. I'm going to do it gently. It feels like it's warmed up enough. This bike actually has no RPMs or fuel gauge. I've got to basically guess how much fuel is in there. So that's been charging, that's been idling now for 5 minutes. Oh, for fuck's sake. I shouldn't have done that. Please, baby. Oh, shit. 5 minutes is not enough, kids. All over again, let's go. Fuck. Starting to piss down. Couldn't find this latch before. Fuck is this supposed to go? There you go. Ah, the brakes bike blow over. Damn it. Really is gonna storm, isn't it? Shit. Well, at least the ratchet already has the right size head on it for the bolt or nut or screw, whatever you call it. Is that a bolt or a screw? I think it's like trying to find what a planet is, or a moon or something. Alright, where the fuck is it? So that's a battery, these are the plugs. I'm not going to do this while holding the phone because I really need to make sure that the positive terminal doesn't touch the chassis. But this bit all along here, I can't really point with one hand. Here, have a look at this. Right. That bit there, it's rubber, which is really helpful. So that's metal. If I touch that to that with metal, like the teeth on that thing, I don't know what would happen, but it would definitely not be good for the battery and the wiring. So I'm just going to connect all that again with 2 hands. Okay, so the bike's got the cables connected. I had to be careful not to yank on that cable, and I've got a nice long cable as well. So I've connected the positive, and now there was no spark earlier. Let's hope there's a bit of a spark now, which would show there's a bit more. There's no spark. Dried out battery acid or something. I don't know what that stuff is called scientifically. I know there'll be people typing and saying you shouldn't rev the engine while it's plugged into another vehicle. But I've never had a problem with it in the 3,000 cars that I've dealt with ever. Never had a problem. Now me pushing that in and out before, just in case you're trying to think of something nasty to write, was just me trying to see if this had enough oil on it, right? And there was a bit of a hair sticking off and I just wanted to get rid of that. Now that's really puttering. And I think the puttering actually comes from the bike not being warmed up enough. I don't think it putters that badly when the fluids have stopped being solidified, and any gunk that's sort of trying to spit out through injectors or whatever the fuck's going on in there, when that is liquidy enough because it's melted, it flows nicer and you don't get that puttery trying to stall kind of noises, right? So I might turn on my car engine as well and see if there's a sound difference at all without me touching the bike in any other way. This car and this bike are both stolen, of course. That's why I didn't need a key. I've rigged it and packed it. No, I'm kidding. Both mine. But this one hasn't had the cover on for a while. Had so much wind at my property that the cover just kept blowing off, so I just left it off. I don't know if that's really helping. I would assume the alternator's doing all the work. But at least now this battery can't flatten that battery. I also should probably be a little bit careful with the vibrations of the bike. Don't make that thing fall down and somehow have the teeth of the cable touching the chassis. But the great thing about these ones is that it's insulated all around the outside of the teeth. It makes them a lot thicker though, so you can't get into tight spaces if your bike is designed where it's hard to actually get into a little nook to access the terminals. But I would assume your bike's probably the same as mine, with the battery right there. I don't know why I assume that, but I just can't think of any other spot that the battery could go on a bike. Yeah, let's hope this one works. I'm just going to raise the revs on my van so that the battery can get more juice. If it blows up, at least I've got it on film. I just don't think there are that many problems that can happen with battery to battery sex. It's like what are those creatures from Avatar called? Anyway, those creatures from Pandora. You know how they have sex with their tails? Basically, that's what my car's doing to my motorbike. So basically, that's the penis and the vagina of all of those creatures, and they shove it into dragons and fucking wildebeest and all sorts of, and trees and stuff. So makes sense though. It's a really close, loving connection they have with all those animals and people. It's just foreign to us because, you know, sex and patting an animal seem like two different things. And that's just because we're closed-minded. We're not open to the different alien species. You'd expect that most animals on Earth would be different from one another, right? Most birds, for example, don't have penises, I've heard. The bike actually looks kind of streamlined like that without that seat. Changes the shape of the bike. Like I said, there's a Vulcan Classic Kawasaki VN800. There's actually 803. I don't know how they added up to get the 03 at the end, but that's what I've read. Yeah, so the piston bore holes, the shafts that the pistons go up and down in, that cavity, or the combined cavity of however many pistons there are, that's how many stroke engine it is, I guess. The cubic centimeterage of that. By the way, birds have cloacas in a lot of cases. I want to check that it doesn't stall now, even when I do this. Oh shit, nearly did, nearly did, nearly did, nearly did. The reason I want to move now, even though I haven't really had it charging or, you know, idling for that long, is because basically it's I'm bored, that's why. Well, the rain subsided a bit, so, well, completely. Sink is on firmly, and I'm gonna ride this baby home and come back in an Uber for my car. Guess what? It stalled. Why? Because I wanted to take a photo back there for my little niece, and I didn't keep the engine running. I thought I better not do a U-turn, a 3-point turn over there. Otherwise all the movement and it's just de-acceleration without keeping the revs up might just make it stall, and it fucking did anyway. I got to walk back about 1.5 kilometers. Fuck. Fuck, take two. Might need that. I actually need some of those twist off, actually. You gotta be careful. Those things can actually break off. Those adapters. Better take note of the address for the Uber driver as well. Okay, and now just to put my helmet on. And gloves. Yeah, just one problem, Chief. Fuck. There's no way this will start again on its own. I'm gonna have to do it all again, unlock that, take that off, put everything away, then come back to the key, to the new mission. Fuck no. Just checking, or just let it idle and sit in the car for a little bit. Well, try the easy way. I really don't want to have to do it again, but then I'm sitting here waiting for nothing if it doesn't charge enough. No, I'm going to sit in the car. I haven't bothered doing that again. I'll play a game on my phone or something. Okay, so I've left it charging for 50 minutes. It's like it's got no charge in it at all. Maybe the battery's dead. Can a battery die just from sitting for 2 months? Well, I got the bike home, thank fuck. And yeah, I tried to start it. It makes noises. The fact that there are lights on here means the battery's not completely dead, and the fans kept blowing for the next, I don't know, 30 seconds after I turned it off. So the battery has some life to it, right? I don't know what to do about it. Maybe I should have just kept it running, or like after I parked it and went and got an Uber and went and had dinner, and maybe just, I don't know. Oh well. Needs a new battery, I guess. I would have expected some kind of right? After all of that idling, and I drove a couple of kilometers. Anyway, yeah. You can jump start it, but if you leave a battery flat, if you leave a bike sitting there for 2 months, 3 months maybe, without riding it, then the battery can go dead. And I've heard that it can actually kill the battery to go completely flat. And so, I might need a new battery.